The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to AMEC's Thought Leadership webinar, sponsored by Cision. This afternoon we want to take a look at the results of the AMEC Business Insight Study, and it's full of interesting new trends valuable to everyone working in research and analytics. Here's how we're going to run it. My job is to not only see it, but come back and give an overview at the end and lead us into questions. The results are going to be presented to you by Chris Shaw, CEO of Metric and Chairman of the AMEC's Business Development Committee. This committee developed this new study. And we have on the call Russell Bell, lead researcher for this project from Rekindle Research. So Russell is there to answer all the deep dive questions. So over to Chris now to start the presentation.
Many thanks, Barry. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to spend 15-20 minutes pacing through a lot of data on these slides, picking out what we think are the main points and setting up what we hope is a good discussion. But firstly, an overview in terms of the respondents. So as you see, 83% was a membership response, which is extremely good. And additionally, this year, we extended the survey to cover clients, and 16% of those who took part in the survey actually responded, which is an extraordinarily good number. So we have a great opportunity to have the members in great numbers speaking and also the clients extending our insights. So if we might move on, Barry, to the industry trends. So the key highlights was the several things. The fact is that the membership are reporting significant growth this year in 2012. Widespread and among the membership, but of lower margin due to the economic downturn. The other thing that we've heard from the AMEC Madrid Summit was that it's a big move in our client base to move towards simplicity. And that's, again, was reflected in, across the membership and also something that comes out of the survey in many different areas. Access to content is still an issue. And the fourth point, critical, I think, and something that is of great importance, is that there is a growing number of buyers for our insights. So there's a wider set of buyers within the organization. And we'll come on to that in a little while. So turning to slide 5. So essentially, most members agree that there is a move to simplicity, and there is a memorable presentation at the Madrid Summit by Marguerite Marston of IKEA, who really said and laid down the challenge: if IKEA presented a KPI report, what would it look like? And that's certainly something where we have to address the need for our clients to be much simpler in the way we present our data. In terms of what does that mean, again, we must ensure that while we can be simple, it is not simplistic in terms of the actual KPIs that we're seeing. And then in terms of the number of clients and the number of functions within the client organizations, a larger proportion are going beyond comms. And that's, we think, is a very important trend. And again, picking up something that was in Rob Flaherty, the global CEO of Ketchen's keynote speech at Madrid. He laid down the gauntlet in terms of how marketing might be taking up budget that would otherwise be going to evaluation companies. It seems that the trend is turning, and we are making headway in extending the buyer profile in the organizations, and that has to be good news. So maybe turning to slide 6, Barry. One of the key things to what's new, it's all about insights, not just monitoring. And there was a clear emphasis that the insights are really what clients are requiring, and one interpretation of this is that with the advent of social media, that has compressed planning and responding cycles, and correspondingly, clients are just interested in the insights as quickly as they can get them. And so that must be something that, the planning cycles are shortened, and the C-suite must be wanting to get those insights as quick as they can. Could we go to the next slide, please, Barry? So as we mentioned, increasing emphasis on insights and increasing emphasis on the importance to demonstrate the business benefits. And we come on to this slightly later, where clients still demand a level of business benefit, but actually they are still looking at purchasing output, a measurement of output. But we'll come onto that later. Could we go on to slide 8, please, Barry? This was particularly interesting for me, and as it should be for the whole of the industry. So essentially what we're saying is that the industry is growing by 12%. And that is particularly significant because many of you will have seen that the PR report from Holmes several weeks ago reported a sector growth of 8%. So it's very interesting in terms of what is driving the growth of our sector ahead of that of the PR sector. And again, we come back, perhaps one interpretation is that business leaders are learning that there are many insights within social beyond just measuring campaigns. So we have a great opportunity to really increase this market, and the fact that the market's growing ahead of the PR market is significant. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Barry? In terms of where that growth is, we see that it's across the board, but the largest growth is of the mid-size AMEC membership, 9% in 2010 to 11 to 16% in 2011 to 12. But it's across the board, and that has to be good news. Next slide, please, Barry. And here we come back to the increasing trend, overwhelming trend that's come out in many parts of this survey of bringing in social media as a key driver of that growth. And as we see here, up to half including social media, 62%. So that's a real growth. And Russell, maybe you can provide a perspective on how you've seen the growth in social over the years.
Yes, we've just been looking back at questions we've asked over a number of years. Just going back 2 years to 2011, we had 11% saying that the average proportion of clients including social media in their programs was about 11%. It's now 39%, so a fourfold increase in just 2 years.
And I think we see, if we go on to slide 11, Barry. Yeah, so again, we see this this huge percentage. 32% of clients say social media measurement is critical, and 38% social media measurement is very important, and only 3% say it's not important. So it's an overwhelming trend. Moving on, Barry, please. This was an interesting slide set of data for me. So we've mentioned that social media is the demand is increasing overwhelmingly, but we've also seen that newspapers, the demand has remained largely unchanged at 71%, and some of it's 12% increasing. And meanwhile, television and online news is obviously increasing, demand increasing, 68% of respondents. So again, these are big moves in our content, but it would seem that still there's a level that's unchanged when it comes to monitoring traditional news media. Slide 13, please, Barry. So what do clients want? Well, as we mentioned slightly earlier, despite all the talk of business metrics, ROI, and outcomes, the majority of clients continue to focus on measuring output. And in terms of really what they're looking for quality as well as quantity, and obviously a transparency of approach. And again, the transparency, simple but not simplistic, the theme that also runs through this. A methodology that the clients can understand. But interestingly, they're looking to measure outputs. And I think on the next slide, that's even more emphatic. And again, Russell, you've seen this trend over several years. And I was surprised at this chart to show that the focus on outputs hasn't changed for the last 3 years.
This chart, though, is based on a question which we asked to clients themselves, and these two pillars represent their own perceptions this year. The change is small, but the change is definitely there. You can see it's gradually moving towards outcomes and business results. But as you say, the change is gradual. It's not happening very fast.
Yeah, and I think that many organizations and people on this call will think, as I do, that clients love talking, get very excited about outcomes and business results. But I think there's a realization that it's much more difficult and potentially much more costly to do. And I think that trend will be the growth will continue, but it will take time, as you indicate. Can we go on to the next slide, please, Barry? So what measures show? So essentially, again, just to reiterate, it's quality and quantity and transparency with the lead issues. And there we have measures social media again. Slide 16, please, Barry. This was very interesting. So members' perceptions of how client budgets have changed in the past year by region. And here we see the perception that across the board there's been an increase in budget. In North America, particularly strong. But in Europe, that trend hasn't been seen. And we see actually Europe is the region where there has been less increase in budget than decrease. So still Europe is quite a depressed market by comparison, let's say, to the States. And also to the Middle East, looks a very strong set of growth drivers there. Russell, anything to add on that slide?
I think the interesting thing about that slide is the contrast with the slide that's coming up now, because the previous slide was members' perceptions of changes in budget. This is what the clients say.
And here we have, again, social media listening and social media measurement. And I was very interested if within the client's mind, they don't really mind which it is, as long as they are receiving insights from social, which is something that they're obviously hungry for. And then we have media monitoring lower down, training lower down, which you thought could well be higher, and traditional measurement are on ROI modeling lower down. That was a surprise to me that was so low. So again, the clients survey, one of the key takeaways was that we need to redouble our efforts in terms of marketing the Barcelona Principles. They are less likely to know about the Barcelona Principles than are obviously the membership. And in terms of their priorities, the client priorities, the measurements are for creating insights and also reporting in a style, and again, that works for top management. Again, we hear this, request for simplicity but not simple in a format that is suitable for being disseminated around an organization. Could we have the next slide, please, Barry? Now, this was an interesting one for me, and again, Russell, maybe you can put some perspective on. Well, we can't because we haven't asked this question before. But for me, it was interesting to see that 74% of clients in the survey contract out all or the majority of their media measurement. Now, what's interesting is that we've seen, many of us, the growth, and indeed to a certain extent been subject to the growth of many tools that provide a quantitative approach to evaluation, and clients have purchased many of these tools. It seems to me that because they are desperate for insights as opposed to just output and information, that there may be a trend to return to a more supplier-based approach and a partner-based approach, rather than do a lot of the analysis or try to do a lot of the analysis in-house. There was always a room for an organization providing high-touch, client consulting and insight-led reports. And I thought this seemed to back up that supposition. Next slide, please, Barry. And as we mentioned, the Barcelona Principles was a surprise. That the client view was the fact that there was a great deal of lack of awareness in the client's mind about the Barcelona Principles by comparison to the members. So obviously a redoubling of effort to market the Barcelona Principles throughout our client base. Next slide, please. And here we go back emphatically to the areas of highest importance. And again, creating insights from the data, and second, reports that can be shared with the top management. So that really goes hand in hand with the need for insights from social and the need for simplicity but not simplistic. And I think these are loud messages that we're hearing from the clients. Next slide, please, Barry. Sorry. Sorry, it screwed me up. And in terms of where we can do potential to do even better, I think the key thing is we need to offer measurement service which includes social and shared media, obviously. I do think that there might be opportunities to give access to online dashboards, as the survey says, as well as offering measurement services which include radio. So a broader spectrum of services, I think, would be really where would be. And then in terms of the future, this was quite interesting because we split the results through sectors, and energy and healthcare were seen to be sectors of holding the greatest future potential. And also, again, speaking to the fact that the idea that a more consultative approach to services was seen to be a source of future growth, as well as integration with other forms of analytics. Again, something that we know can be difficult, but is, again, searching for those insights, bringing sets of data together will deliver those insights. Next slide, please, Barry. So in terms of these sectors where there's prospects for greatest growth, energy and healthcare were one and two, and we had government communications and IT. I thought this was quite posed a couple of questions, because if we see that the clients are driving for insights, particularly from social, as we've seen as a trend in this survey, I'm not sure that the energy sector and healthcare sector are, I mean, obviously social is everywhere, but you would think that FMCG goods would perhaps be in there as an area that's been most impacted by social. So Russell, I don't know if you want to comment on this chart, if it surprised you in any way.
I think it's true that you can make the point that FMCG isn't there. We did have it on the list. I think people are looking at this in terms of where the growth prospects are. It may well be that the explosion in demand we've already seen is in the FMCG sector, and these are the sectors which are catching up. And certainly from a UK perspective, at least, the energy sector is definitely one to watch at the moment.
Yeah. Great. So Barry, I think we got one more. Right, so then we split this through by region. So healthcare was the top growth sector for North America, Asia Pac financials, business and professional, interesting, and Europe, healthcare and energy, Middle East energy, not surprisingly. And again, we return in terms of the business drivers where members selected 3 areas with the most potential for growth. The deeper dive, the consultative service was seen as scoring very highly. Integration with other analytics was key. And again, maybe the opportunity to bring forward some new and automated technologies. Digital, interestingly, digital social media analysis was in 37%, was in 4th place there. Next slide, please, Barry.
So we're at the end of the presentation deck. This is Barry Lexington returning. So a couple of observations from me on what you've seen. We've seen a gradual move to more integrated measurement, including outcomes and business results, along with outputs. And the measurement company of the future will need to address all 3. As Chris has indicated, an educational gap exists between how well versed we are about the measurement, about the Barcelona Principles, and there is a clear need for AMEC's planned global education program to get behind that and better educate clients on the Barcelona Principles and what it means. And what we've also seen from this research is that the generation of insights from data and analytics is a key trend, and distilling measurement results into simply human truths that can drive communications planning is critical to what we do. What I want to do now is take any questions from people on the call. I did have one question typed into the screen. What did we mean by access to content? What I can tell you that is this is an area that AMEC's Content and Copyright Committee, chaired by Dawn Conway from Cision, has been very active in and remains active, and it's emerged as a key business issue to senior management of AMEC members, and it simply means how easy is it to access content. If you work internationally, are you being impeded because there is, at the moment, no clear-cut international license route to enable you to get the content from key titles worldwide? This is an area that we're working on right now. So I'm very happy to turn this over to any questions we have from our audience. We're a very good audience on this call.
I can't believe an audience with Richard Bagnall in the audience doesn't have a question.
What we have done today is make sure that our members who took part in this survey receive their report. Can you confirm that, Russell?
Yes, they've all gone out this morning.
Excellent. Good.
And if anyone has not received their reports, please do contact Barry and we'll get on the case and get one off to you today.
We went through the slides quite quickly, and does anybody want to go back on any particular slide to dig into some of the data?
No, I think
I think we've stunned them. We've stunned them, Barry. I think.
all right. So what I would like to do is, on AMEC's behalf, thank Chris Shaw and Russell Bell for being on the call. If there are any questions that, for whatever reason, didn't come through on the call, do please email me, barrylegater@amechall.com, and I'll make sure that it goes out to Chris Shaw for answers. So thank you for the call, and I'm going to end the call just now, just short of 30 minutes. Thank you everyone for your time.